Ferrari is almost synonymous to Formula 1, and is the only team on the grid who have participated in all 73 seasons of the sport. Because this team has such a long history, I will not be able to go through everything that happened every single year. So this video will be structured much like the McLaren video, rather than the year-by-year format of the Red Bull and Mercedes ones. In my other videos, I focus on the drama and controversy surrounding the team who won the title that year. So, for example, in 1990, the fight was between Senna in the McLaren and Prost in the Ferrari. Spoiler, Senna won the championship over Prost, so I have gone into more detail about that title fight in my McLaren video. If you watch my other videos, it really helps to get the full picture, as the history of the teams will, inevitably intertwine. So, without any more explanation, let's explore the vast history of Formula 1's most successful team, Ferrari.
Everybody's a Ferrari fan. Even if they're not, they are a Ferrari fan.
Scuderia Ferrari was founded by Italian racing driver and entrepreneur Enzo Ferrari in 1929. 21 years later, they entered their first Grand Prix, that being the second round of the 1950 season in Monaco. The year after, in 1951, Argentinian Jose Froilan Gonzalez takes the team's first victory at Silverstone. Impressively, Ferrari claims back-to-back championship titles with Alberto Ascari in the next coming years. In 1953, the Maranello-based team won 7 out of the 9 races held, with the joint forces of Ascari, Giuseppe Farina, and Mike Hawthorne. The then two-time world champion Juan Manuel Fangio won the championship in 1955 with Mercedes, but due to them withdrawing from the sport, Fangio decided to drive for the Scuderia for the 1956 season, and claimed Ferrari's third championship and his own third consecutive title. A few years later, the UK's first world champion, Mike Hawthorne, won in 1958 for Ferrari. The team could look back on a successful first decade in the sport, winning 4 titles with Ascari, Fangio, and Hawthorne. 3 years later, in 1961, American Phil Hill won the championship with a 156 Sharknose Ferrari with its mid-placed engine. This was also Ferrari's first Constructors' title, as the Constructors' Award was not implemented into the sport until 1958. Former motorcycle champion John Surtees won the championship of 1964, the only driver to have won both an F1 championship and the Motorcycle World Championship, a feat no one till this date has been able to replicate. Despite winning 2 championships, Ferrari struggled throughout the rest of the 60s and well into the 70s. The Scuderia would see themselves beat by Lotus and Tyrrell for the first half of the 70s, but in 1974, we would see the beginning of a great rivalry between 2 incredible teams, Ferrari and McLaren. Emerson Fittipaldi in the McLaren won over Ferrari's Clay Regazzoni in 1974, but the Scuderia would strike back in 1975. Nikilauda would take the title with 5 wins, Ferrari's first driver's title in 11 years. Together with Regazzoni, they also claimed the constructors' title. There is a reason why Hollywood decided to make a film about Formula 1. The incredible story of the fight for the 1976 championship was too good to pass. The 2013 film Rush depicts the dramatic story between McLaren's James Hunt and Ferrari's Niki Lauda. I've gone into more detail in my McLaren video, so you should check that out if you're interested, but the film is great and you definitely should see it. The year after, Lauda won the title for Ferrari and retired after, though as we all know, this would not be the last we saw of Niki Lauda in Formula 1. Canadian Gilles Villeneuve took his place. You might recognize the name. I'm recording this after the Canadian Grand Prix, where the track is named after this legendary driver. In 1979, South African driver Jody Scheckter wins the title for Ferrari, Villeneuve coming second, and the 2 of them secures the constructors' title as well. The start of the 80s was filled with drama for the Scuderia. During the 1982 championship, Ferrari driver Didier Pironi was fighting at the top to win the title. Unfortunately, Pironi suffered a career-ending crash and lost the championship to Keke Rosberg. The talented Gilles Villeneuve would also sadly lose his life at the Solder track. Many people consider Villeneuve to be one of the greatest drivers of all time, and fans said that it would only be a matter of time before the Canadian would win a world championship. But sadly, he never got the chance, and the loss of Villeneuve left a huge mark on the sport. Ferrari won the 1983 Constructors' Championship, but lost to Nelson Piquet in the Brabham for the driver's title. The rest of the 80s were dominated by McLaren. But amidst McLaren domination in 1988, Gerhard Berger and his Ferrari managed to become the only driver to win a Grand Prix other than Senna and Prost that season. Berger won the Italian Grand Prix with teammate Michele Alboreto coming second only a month after founder Enzo Ferrari's passing at the age of 90. The great rivalry between Senna and Prost continued into the 90s, and in 1990, Prost switched allegiance and joined Ferrari. The prancing horse at the helm of Prost seemed to have the advantage during the races, but lacked speed in qualifying compared to the McLarens. The championship was decided in Suzuka during the Grand Prix's historic first lap. Senna would come out on top and won the title. Ferrari struggled a lot this decade and would see great drivers like alainprost leave the team in frustration. The team managed to bag a few podiums and wins, but the team definitely lacked in performance. The then two-time world champion Michael Schumacher was signed to the team in 1996, which would prove to be quite the signing. Schumacher left the Benetton team in favor for the Scuderia, but he did not go alone. Schumi managed to convert Ross Brawn in 1997 to become the technical director at Ferrari. A year later, Schumacher would fight with McLaren's Mika Häkkinen for the title, and the championship was decided yet again in Suzuka, where Schumacher would stall the car and had to start the race from the very back. He still managed to fight his way up to a third place, but ended up having to retire the car, thus losing the championship. But have no fear, his time would come. Ferrari's golden boy Schumacher would unexpectedly not be able to compete for the championship in 1999. Only 8 races in, and he had a massive crash in Silverstone, which would leave his left shin bone and fibula broken. He had to sit out the next 6 races and pray that his teammate Eddie Irvine could challenge Häkkinen for the title. On the now historic track of Suzuka, the championship would be decided yet again. And Schumacher, who had recovered from his injuries, took pole from Häkkinen while Irvine crashed during qualifying, essentially making quite the dent in any championship hopes. Irvine came in third, losing the win and title to Häkkinen. Schumacher tried to hold off the Finn as long as he could, but it seemed like nothing could stop Häkkinen that day. Schumacher and Irvine did claim the constructors' title under the red banner of Ferrari. Now we've come to the part a lot of you have been waiting for, I think. Ferrari had been lurking in the shadows for the latter half of the 90s and was now ready to show its true colors. It took them 21 years, but now the title was finally within their grasp. In 2000, Schumacher started in dominant fashion, claiming 3 victories, but had a series of retirements which greatly benefited Häkkinen and Coulthard at McLaren. But the Red Baron took pole and claimed a victory in the last 4 races, leaving the German driver with 9 wins and finally the coveted driver's title for the Scuderia. 2001 followed suit, and Schumacher obliterated his competition, ending the season with 9 wins, 5 second places, 2 retirements, and 1 fourth place. 58 points of next man in line, David Coulthard. Ferrari's claim to power was not to be challenged, at least not for a while. Schumacher continued his domination and finished all 17 races on the podium in 2002. 11 of them victories and only 1 third place. All the others were second places. Schumacher would solidify his status as an F1 legend. Brazilian Rubens Barrichello would be Schumacher's perfect wingman, and together they claimed 15 wins that season, securing the constructors for the 4th time in a row. 2003 introduced a new one-lap qualifying format. Without going into too much detail, this proved to be quite an unfair way of deciding the grid on the race on Sunday. This did help spice up the race weekends, a much-needed sight for anyone not rooting for Ferrari. The championship, in the end, was between the young Finn Kimi Räikkönen in the McLaren and Schumacher and his red Ferrari. Schumacher won the title by only 2 points to Räikkönen, and with that broke Fangio's long-standing record of 5 championship titles. But Schumacher was not done yet. 2004 was a record-breaking year in the sport. Schumacher won his 7th and would-be last world championship, and the record of 5 consecutive drivers' titles, ending the season with 13 wins and 148 points to his teammate Barrichello's 114 points. The young Spaniard Fernando Alonso and his yellow and blue Renault would mark the end of Ferrari and Schumacher's 5-year domination. During the 2005 season, Ferrari and Schumi claimed only one victory, and this was during the absolute clown show that was the United States Grand Prix at Indianapolis. Ferrari was nowhere near fighting for a title. Ferrari was back into the fight for 2006. Schumacher and Alonso would battle it out throughout the season, each claiming 7 victories, but in the end, the Spaniard would again come out on top. During the race weekend in Monza, Schumacher announced his retirement from the sport, and could look back at an incredible partnership with Ferrari. 72 race victories, 58 poles, 5 drivers' championships, and 6 constructors' championships. What a team, what a performance. Schumacher's 2003 rival Kimi Räikkönen would take on the Crimson Suit and fight the 2-time champion Alonso and rookie Lewis Hamilton for the title in 2007. Ferrari fell victim to industrial espionage and had over 700 pages of technical information about their car copied by former Ferrari employee Nigel Stepney. Spygate, as the scandal was later dubbed, saw McLaren being disqualified from the championship. And because of their inter-team rivalry, Alonso and Hamilton lost the championship at the final race by 1 point to Räikkönen, Ferrari claiming both the constructor and driver's title of 2007. The McLaren-Ferrari rivalry that started in 1974 was alive and kicking in 2008. This season, Brazilian Felipe Massa for Ferrari and Brit Lewis Hamilton would be the main protagonists. And an important side character by the name of Timo Glock would become an unexpected plot twist. Massa and Hamilton's battle lasted up until the very last race in Brazil, Massa's home race. Hamilton had to finish 5th or higher to win the championship, and with Massa claiming pole and fastest lap during the race, the championship seemed all but lost for Hamilton. During the chaotic rain-filled race, Massa would come out victorious, and all looked to be going Ferrari's way. At the time of Massa taking the checkered flag, Hamilton was in 6th place. Felipe Massa had won the championship over Hamilton. Celebrations roared in the Ferrari garage. But wait a second. What's that? 5th place Timo Glock is slowing down. Massa was already crowned world champion, but during the last corner of the last lap, Lewis Hamilton passes Timo Glock and wins the championship by a single point. A dramatic end to the penultimate season of the 2000s. After Räikkönen's departure, Ferrari got another team rival to race for the Scuderia. Fernando Alonso is adorned with red, and in 2010 we saw him fight McLaren's Hamilton and Red Bull's Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel for the title. Alonso starts off the season strong with a win in Bahrain, Massa making it a 1-2, a perfect start. Fast forward to the last race, and Alonso has to battle Russian Vitaly Petrov for 40 laps. He loses the championship to Vettel by 4 points. The year is 2012. 7 different drivers win the first 7 races. The grid consists of 6 champions, and 1 future champion in Nico Rosberg, almost all of them in competitive cars. Alonso had a chance of winning the championship with Ferrari. Round 8 in Valencia, and Ferrari fans get one emotional podium, which is still remembered as one of the most iconic podium celebrations in F1 history. Alonso claims victory for the Scuderia in his home race. Ferrari's last champion, Kimi Räikkönen, takes 2nd place, and a 43-year-old Schumacher, who came back to race for Mercedes in 2010, makes up the rest of the podium, all 3 with pivotal ties to Ferrari. Iconic. Despite an incredibly strong performance from Alonso, taking the championship down to the wire, Ferrari could not provide the Spaniard with a competitive enough car. It is a testament to Alonso's greatness that he was able to battle for the title in a car that was arguably the 3rd best on the grid. The season would end with Alonso losing the championship to Vettel by 3 points. The next few years sees Ferrari's drop in performance and Mercedes ascend to the top. Ferrari plays musical chairs with team principals and struggles to find performance. Despite being the most successful team in Formula 1, having the most resources and money, the team was still in disarray. Alonso leaves the team to rejoin McLaren in 2015, and his rival Sebastian Vettel takes his place. 3 wins for Vettel would not suffice against the dominant Mercedes. Ferrari would then struggle with bad strategy calls. Wait, why do I feel like I've heard that before?
Stay out! Fuck! What
2017, and things look exciting for Ferrari. Vettel takes 3 victories with good results in the first half of the season, but due to bad strategy, driver errors, and, well, Lewis Hamilton, Vettel loses the hope of a championship as Hamilton takes the title with 2 races to go. 2018, and the same story unfolds. With disoriented strategies and chaotic decisions, Ferrari fumbles yet another chance of a driver's title. Ferrari's last champion, Raikkonen, gets replaced with Ferrari's protege, 22-year-old Charles Leclerc. Mattia Binotto replaces Maurizio Arrivabene as team principal. Sorry for butchering that name. That makes 3 switches at the top in only 6 years. The vast team clearly struggles to operate cohesively. To great surprise, the young Monegasque outscores 4-time world champion Vettel and claims 2 of the team's 3 victories that year. The most iconic one in Monza. I mean, look at these images. Ferrari had a terrible start to the 2020s, but Leclerc scores 98 of the team's 131 points. But in comparison, Mercedes won the Constructors with 573 points. Ferrari ends the season with no wins and a 6th place in the Constructors. Vettel's championship hopes crumbles to dust, and he leaves the team at the end of the 2020 season. Spaniard Carlossainz takes on the mantle, and despite being new to the team, outscores Leclerc at the end of the 2021 season. Ferrari climbs its way up to 3rd in the Constructors. Excitement filled the tifosi around preseason testing. The prancing horse seemed to have finally gotten it right. 2022 was a clean slate for many teams, as the new regulations and a big budget cap was set in motion. Leclerc wins the opening round in Bahrain, with his biggest rival, Max Verstappen, having problems and ending up with no points. After a 2nd place finish to Leclerc in Saudi Arabia, Verstappen again has problems and retires from the next race, leaving Leclerc to bag important points. All eyes were on Leclerc. It had been 15 years since Ferrari's last title win. We were about to witness what we thought would be the beginning of a new iconic rivalry, Verstappen-Leclerc, Red Bull-Ferrari. That was not the case. It seemed Ferrari was not ready to step up, and around the halfway mark of the season in France, Leclerc was comfortably leading the race but made a big error, crashing out of the lead. The Monegasque retrospectively claims that his error lost him the championship. Mind-numbing strategies, reliability issues, and overall driver errors would not hold up to the powerhouse of Red Bull and Max Verstappen. Leclerc lost the championship with 4 races to go. 8 rounds into the 2023 season, and fans have already placed the crown on Max Verstappen's head. To be fair, Verstappen looks untouchable, and Ferrari is sadly nowhere near the top. Only things of note for Ferrari this year was when Leclerc bagged a 3rd place in Baku, claiming pole and Sainz's 2nd place during qualifying in Spain. A front row start which he converted into a 5th place. Overall, this season has been lackluster for the Scuderia. At least in 2022 there was a chance. This year, however, well, it looks bleak. Binotto was ditched after the disappointment of last year, and now Frenchman Frédéric Vasseur is trying to tame the prancing horse. But it seems like Ferrari is desperately trying to employ the right people to fix the major issues at the team. Let's hope next year will be better. Don't put away your Ferrari merch just yet. There is still time. As of June 2023, that's all I have. So thank you so much for watching, and don't hesitate to subscribe and let me know which era you like best, or just, anything. Until next time, later.